What's up? I was trying to shut the game off.
Okay, we're live.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Is there any public comment on items under jurisdiction of the board and not on the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That's fine.
If he doesn't get it, he'll just call in.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Bill Giracchi. I'm the the County Administrative Officer and Budget Director. And I want to take a moment at the beginning of your meeting in the public comment to share with you the updated, actually the second quarter budget report. And so to make this easier than it has to be, the horizontal sheet that you have is the revenue page, and the vertical sheet is the expenditure page, and I just want to highlight two things on each page. So if you look at the horizontal page, which is the revenue page, if you look at what I have circled as item number 1, at the bottom, the circular item number 1, as of the second quarter, we were at 104% of our revenue budget, which is really good. And what that reflects is tax payments made mainly in the assessment charge that we have for solid waste. And then if you look at the rows that are associated with where I have identified number 2, if you carry those numbers across, service charges all the way to the right-hand side, every one of our service charges, disposal charge, container rental, miscellaneous revenues, are all over 100% of the budget as of the second quarter. So we're doing very well on the revenue side. And I'm not predicting we're going to double our revenue expectations, but we're in very good shape on the revenue side as of the second quarter. I wanted you to see that. I should note that, we raised the assessment charge this year, and most everybody is paid in. So if you were worried about where's everybody going? If you're worried about the public attitude toward that, from the performance on the payments, I think we're doing pretty well. If you look at the vertical sheet, which is second page, in the middle of the page you see a pink circled item, and what that is, it's in the line item called machinery and equipment. $184,000 spent. That is related to the hook truck, I believe. It's related to the hook truck. Now, the reason I circled it is because that high expense item, first of all, look at that whole row. It's object code 940, the last object code in the O&M budget. If you read that line, you'll see that in the pink section, there's no budget for it. And the reason for that is that expenditure should be made as part of the CIP section of our budget. And so I'm going to be redesigning this page before the next report. But basically what happens is we expend money to our reserve, and then we spend from there. So you're not seeing that completely in this worksheet, and that's what I have to modify for our next quarterly review. However, the grand total on that line for O&M shows that we're at 41% of our budget at the second quarter mark. So if you figured that you spend half your money, 41% is pretty good. And the fact that I have $184,000 that shouldn't be shown there, should be shown in another section of the budget, means that our performance is really good. If you look at the number one and number two, number one is 41% of the O&M as of second quarter, which is really good. Then if you look at the bottom of the page, the total budget, we're 36% of total. And that's all of the personnel, all of the O&M, with this $184,000 being somewhat misrepresented. It really should be part of the capital budget. Solid waste is in great shape. For you, what you need to understand about the solid waste department is that they have always performed excellently, always under budget. Where we've fallen short is on the revenue side, and that's why we had to do the past due payments, had those come in. So what this tells me as a budget analyst, budget director, is that we're probably over budgeting our expenses, and we're then performing better. That means that we could probably have a more accurate expenditure budget for every line item next year. It's going to be important to have that because we are not going to have the past due payments coming in next year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mixed bag, but mostly very good. I think we're in good shape. The performance on the revenue side is that people, even if they're holding their nose, they're still paying the assessments. That's what we want. And on the operations side, the management is doing a really good job keeping the expenditures low. Do you have any questions about the overall feel for the fund? For the budget?
So next year, if you took out the,
If you go back to the revenue page, next year if you take out the $251,000,
take that out, you're going to be about, I don't know, you think you're still going to be ahead of the game versus our costs?
we may be. I've talked to the commissioners about this and with the public works staff about it. On paper, we're going to look okay from an audit standpoint because we will still have accounts receivable. So we've received about 141,000, as of the second quarter, we received 141,000. My understanding is we are over 150,000.
No.
That's
We're
wrong.
not?
I misspoke, Bill.
Our current right now is 142,824. We're 57%.
50% of our target.
Yeah.
And that's without having a second request for money or anything like that. So
So we probably won't get 100% though, do you think?
now the reason, I believe the reason you won't get 100% is because it's really hard if somebody's a city resident and they're able to dispose of the trash in a shared canister and they don't have to go to the dump where they have to show a tag that shows that they've paid all their past dues, then they're running not for free because they are still now paying the new assessment.
Mr. Chair,
But
can I comment?
they may be able to go for a long time without paying their past due assessment unless we have some other kind of enforcement mechanism that would would give them incentive to pay. Either we create a disincentive for their ability to dispose of their trash, or we provide some kind of incentive. At any rate, we are carrying a accounts receivable, which looks good for our audit,
Yeah.
and operationally, we're doing okay right now. We will start to do the budgeting for next year after the third quarter. And I think you'll all be involved in that in some way, shape, or form.
Misty?
Misty Mazzolo, Assistant Public Works Director. Going back to the city, I am currently adding the city residents that we got the list from the city to our spreadsheet, similar to how I did Tri-County. There are some residents within the city that haven't paid an assessment as far as new builds, and so hopefully going back to that, we can start catching some of these people that aren't doing exactly what you said.
Right.
So I just wanted to add that in there.
There's some other things that kind of give you a preview, and I think TJ will probably speak to it at some point, is we know that we're going to have more assessments next year.
Yep.
That we have more people that we can assess.
And this 839 bill, that wasn't with the increase on the assessment, right?
I'm sorry?
This 839, without the equitable assessment, the
That's correct.
839 was,
That's without the added assessments
Yep.
that we've been able to find this year. And then next year, you're going to have, as you're going to speak tonight, a change in the way you do business assessments. So all of that comes into the mix. For the budget that we set last year, that we're in the process of executing, by the second quarter, we're in really good shape. And that should be encouraging not only to you, but to our auditor, who's been writing us up for the last 5 years or so. Any other questions that I might be able to help with? I appreciate you letting me take more than 5 minutes to speak tonight.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
so I'll give you, speaking to what Bill was talking about your number of assessments, we've got a rough number of 3414 compared to the 3168. That takes you up at $265. That takes you to 904,710, which is 65,190 to the good. But also remember, going from Tri-County to Lewis and Clark County, that's going to save you roughly $30-some thousand a year.
A year, so we'll have a half a year of that.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So I do agree with Bill. I think that we're okay for right now, but we still got a lot of equipment that definitely needs some attention as far as not purchasing new, purchasing something used that's in good shape. And working with Bill, he's kind of got me lined out as far as what I need to purchase and when I need to purchase it. So.
And that hook truck was that just one-time full payment?
No, that was an intercap loan. We paid $10,000 2 weeks ago. I think was the first payment.
The payments are around 10,000, but we just paid interest first this year, and our next full payment will be in August.
So yeah, we paid
If you look on that vertical page, which is our expense page, just past middle of the page, it says capital improvement plan solid waste depreciation expense. That 204 is yet to be expended. That'll probably be done at the end of the year, but that's the amount that goes into our capital replacement program. Okay, so we haven't made that expense yet, so, by the time we get to the end of this year, you'll be able to get a real clean picture of how everything's gonna look.
Does that include the interest and stuff after making payments?
Yes, it would. So money goes into the capital improvement plan for all of the equipment, because you basically send money aside for future replacement, as well as for the new equipment we buy when we have a loan, the principal and interest that's in there. You have money going in, money being paid out, expensed out.
Okay.
It's kind of a strange expense situation. You have to look at the capital improvement plan for all of the expenses related to the equipment, And then you have to feed the capital improvement plan with the expense out of the budget. And hopefully we'll be able to make that the full $204,000 budgeted amount. We may not have enough money when we get done to put all of that in there, but, you know, we still have our target. This board said, well, you know, we'll put 204 in every year for the first 5 years and start build up that fund for replacement. So at one of your future meetings, we'll probably bring up, at your invitation, I'll bring up the capital improvement plan again so you can refresh your memory on what our strategy was for that.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I comment on the ERP plan?
Yep.
I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of an update on the stuff, the uncollected so far. It seems to be that the uncollected is a lot of businesses or people that have lots of properties that haven't paid. I wanted to point out though that, you know, we put out a payment plan option.
Yeah.
And we did have several people act on that. And I just wanted to let you know that everybody that signed the payment plan has either paid it off or are making payments.
Great.
So I just wanted to point that out, that people that couldn't afford to do this and took the opportunity to, on the payment plan are doing their part. But we have businesses and prominent
Yep.
landowners that aren't doing their part.
Yep.
So I just kind of wanted to put that out there.
I figured as much. Did you guys have a chance to look at the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passed. Election of officers?
So at the start of every year, we re-elect our officers. So I guess it's open for motion on.
Open.
So let's open it for the chair first.
And you're seeking nominations from the board.
Correct.
I nominate Kiff.
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.
Great.
That's kind of being voluntold,
Yeah.
but
Right. Way to go.
And then now the vice chair.
So Eric Stahl, I nominate Eric Stahl for vice chair.
You can do whatever you want. And being that he is not present,
Mr. Chair, he is on the computer.
he is.
He is on the computer.
Oh,
So he can comment in.
I mean, if he comments in, but I don't have anything from him at this point.
Okay.
Is there a second on
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Good job, Eric, wherever you are.
I remember that's how it went last year.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. 3-year
Three-year
term.
term.
Huh?
3-year term.
3-year?
Oh,
Not for the officers.
Sentence.
They- Yes.
No, the offices are annual.
Yeah.
But you right now, Mr. Meyer, you are on a 3-year term.
Yeah.
That's if I don't move to Arizona. No. That's a
Yes.
while.
I did read that today.
Got that done. Review of the bylaws.
Did everybody get the bylaws that I sent? I gave a copy as well. We just need to review them, and if you're okay with them.
Looks like we already signed off on that anyhow, right?
Right, Lindsay, is that how they do? They just review it?
Same old bylaws.
Yeah.
Is what you just
There's
wanted
just
to
no
If
do?
they
changes.
have
If they
any
wanted any
corrections they
changes,
wanna
they
make, they can propose those, and then
Yeah.
you can vote on them, and then you approve them, and then the commissioners approve them, I know.
I don't have any
Oh, he's
additions or changes.
having officer, secretary,
Mr.
I'll make a
Lisco.
motion to accept it as written.
officers, chair, vice chair, and secretary.
What?
You don't have D and D on.
I don't? Okay, well, we'll have to do a decision. We'll have to do that next week, sorry, or next meeting.
We don't have one on here?
Discussion,
Oh.
decision.
Oh,
Oh,
Just
Oh, darn it.
the formalities.
Mhm. I apologize.
Should be council, right?
Have another month to look at them.
Yeah.
just a small one.
CIO.
I didn't write them.
So we'll just table it until
Yep.
next
Yeah,
month.
CIO, I didn't write.
Yeah, right.
So then we'll have a discussion on classifications of assessments.
So, Mr. Chair, TJ Gravely, Public Works Director. In our December meeting, we talked about how we wanted to proceed as far as business assessments and moving forward, trying to get a fair value for everybody moving forward. If you were a bar with serving food, and if you were a hotel, or if you were a school or a hospital. We did discover some things today that will get cleaned up on a housing development and a couple of things like that. But in this process, we have this meeting tonight to discuss this business resolution or business assessments. And I believe it is on the 5th of March. It will be in front of the commission to talk about it again. And then on your 11th of March meeting, it will be on a D&D for you guys to decide what you want to do as far as,
D&D is.
Yes, right.
as far as
Tell me
a,
what D&D is.
I'm getting to it,
Okay, excuse me.
for a discussion decision for recommendation to the commission. That will be on the commission's agenda on the 12th of March. And we have to have this stuff done and ready to go to Department of Revenue. We're ahead of the game, so we've still got time to make changes as far as what we're gonna do. When we met last in December, we had talked about kind of copying a lot off of Park County. With that being said, we all agreed that with what you have in front of you right now, the things that we didn't discuss is hospitals and bigger housing developments like the one I found today being charged. And so when I reached out to Park County, and Park County actually doesn't assess their hospital. It's through the city of Livingston. The lady's been on vacation for, I can't tell you how long. But actually the health people help regulate their assessments. I mean, all the medical stuff obviously is handled by somebody else. But as far as what is done at the hospital with their garbage, with their cafeteria stuff, that's all done with the city of Livingston. And if you look at Lewis and Clark counties, it's basically the same way, which surprised me because when I got to looking, I'm like, well, that really doesn't make much sense to me. But that's how they're doing it, so I guess I need to understand that a little better. But what we come up with the hospital, so they have 13, is it rest home beds, I think is how they said it?
Long-term.
Long-term beds. And they have 7 for basically urgent care or whatever coming in. So you've got, what, is that right, 13?
Yeah, I think so. That's what you said. 13 and 7.
And so with that being said, you still have the cafeteria there. They've got 70-some employees. When I come up with the idea of putting 10 assessments on the hospital, I felt that I was very fair and probably on the bottom side of it. Because if you look at what we did at the school, we did 1 assessment for every 35 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not counting your staff, that's just your students. And I have, seeing the garbage that comes in, I believe that the garbage is going to be very comparable.
Right, right.
And moving forward, this is where you guys need to voice your opinions and give recommendations as far as what else you would like to see on the business assessment side. The one, or the couple of things that we weren't charging for was your rural fire department and veterans who are 100% disabled, as long as they would prove or bring in the documentation. And we're not going to go seeking them, they're going to have to come to our office and make that decision. We will gladly do that for them.
And did you say, is the hospital utilizing a container or they're just using it in the city?
So they've got a bunch of, what is there, like 8 or 10 of them? There's a lot of those 300-gallon containers over here. And they're shared basically between the courthouse and the hospital and the senior center.
Mhm.
And
In the museum.
I think,
as
yeah,
well.
maybe the museum as well.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah, but like this time of year, they're definitely not doing anything. But what we've got in front of you guys, I know that we talked about it before, and you guys come up with the idea of changing it just a little bit, and I think it was pretty much on the mini storages where it was 50, per every 50 to
Yep.
clean those out. Moving forward, I don't know what we're going to see on storage units. They're kind of slowed down a little bit, but they're still going to be charged accordingly.
Yep. And there's quite a few in the county already.
There is a lot just besides what's on the Silos Road.
And when does this have to be for Department of Revenue?
I think it's in the first part of May, I think. But I would like to have this buttoned up for our next meeting. Kind of cleaned up. Do you guys have anything that you could add or want to add to this?
I think, and I don't know what other notes they may have, but just those things that we talked about, building serving both residents, business too, the wedding and music venues, it was listed at 6, that needs to be 7. Disabled vets, no charge. And then the storage units, 0 to 50, 51.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair, you said 7 on the wedding?
Yeah,
That's your recommendation for right now, right?
yep. And then, each business one, that's obviously not, that's for business that is going to utilize the canisters, because like the contractors and stuff, they pay tipping fees.
Yep.
So that fairly well exempts those.
One thing that we're starting to see, and this was brought up because of an incident that happened on Copper City Road the other day. Give you a little background history real quick on that. On the road side of it, we're in an MOU with the BLM up there. And they maintain all those roads. Well, there's actually a person living back there. And I don't even know what you would call it, like a she shed, you know those venues? Sorry. Those venues that you showed me for the wedding venue that would be up Duck Creek? They're living in that. And they were snowed in. And a grader was in there, and I wanted to know why, because we don't maintain that road. Come to find out, there's some little parcels up there on the south end of the county. Well, we're starting to see more of these little storage facilities people are using as houses, and they're not being collected on as solid waste or anything else. I'll be honest with you, right now, when it's 29 below, I dang sure do not want to live in one of those unless it is very well insulated and I got a wood stove burning. But that is other things that we're going to have to start looking at. I guess that is a habitable dwelling.
Yep, absolutely. And it goes back to exactly what I told the Department of Revenue was there's got to be a cross correlation between an electrical permit because it goes by county. So that would be simple in computer software to get a hold of that, because anymore between Vigilante and Northwest Energy, they will not touch it unless there's a permit pulled.
Well, we are doing a test program with the Department of Revenue right now. I haven't put any properties in there yet, but I believe Broadwater County and I think it's Liberty County are doing this where I drop off a geocode or latitude and longitude and say, this is where it's at, go please take a look at it.
Yep.
Which will flag on their end, and I think we're going to catch a lot more people that way. I don't think it's shady. I think it's doing the right thing.
Yep.
Because as you guys well know, when we raised this assessment, it was because we were short on money that happened before. That assessment had to go up because everybody else that was paying had to cover the cost of the people that weren't paying.
Yep.
And I do believe that this is the right thing to do. And hopefully this pilot program will work well with the Department of Revenue. And we can see more than 3,414, which still is pretty dang good for the short time we've been doing it.
Yep.
Now, would that show up if they're off the grid? I mean, a utility, like you mentioned.
It's possible. In theory, it's still supposed to, but if you don't have a power company involved in it, it really doesn't have to be. You're supposed to, but
Why would you supposed to?
what's that?
Why would you be?
Because it's still electrical work. It's still plumbing work. In the state of Montana, you're required to put a permit on it so it could be inspected. It doesn't matter if it's through a power company or an off-grid. It still has to have an inspection.
I see.
But
And it being a habitable dwelling, we deserve the solid waste assessments.
And the tax
I don't care if you're
assessment.
200 square feet. That's exactly what it's called for.
absolutely.
I mean, this is still a work in progress, as I told you guys last time. It's been quite a bit of undertaking between doing this and trying to do everything else. That's why I'm asking you guys if there's anything else you guys would like to see on this before it is recommended by the board to the commission. I think we beat it up pretty good in December.
Yeah, we did.
And Honestly, getting all the assessments, that's a stretch. It is a real stretch. But if we can capture 95, 98% of them, I think that's a win. It's a far cry from where we were at a couple years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can always modify it in another year. If we find-
Absolutely.
if we find
Absolutely.
we're missing some.
One other thing while we're talking about this is I failed to mention this, and I should have done it earlier, is your interlocal agreement has been signed and is with the Secretary of State with Lewis and Clark County. So
Great.
we received that Monday.
There was that December meeting? Commission meeting?
It was
that was
a
in
working
December.
thing,
That was that working meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, but the commission, you guys held the meeting, commission meeting with them in December, right?
No,
No?
last week, 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Last week. Yeah, it was last week. And then Lewis and Clark just signed it. Yeah, Lewis and Clark just signed it last Thursday.
yes, ma'am.
Kathy Brecky. I just, as a point of clarification, on your number 14, you're talking about new construction. At what point does an empty lot, do you need to spell out that an empty lot isn't assessed fees, and at what point, like there's a structure put on it, or they pull a permit, or when does that trigger the assessment? And so, just as a point of clarification for maybe people in the county, because if they come to you and say, well, you didn't tell me,
Yep.
I mean, could you somehow expand that number 14 in a way that would spell that out a little clearer, empty lot versus once the structure's on or the permit's pulled? So.
Yeah, and I think it's set up that it's just a property tax on there with no assessment if there's no structure on there.
But if they're doing new construction, there is going to be waste.
Yep.
So the reason that would be set up that way is that waste has to go somewhere.
Right,
And it would be free if they chose to use our landfill if we weren't able to assess that.
So at this point, do we have clarification somewhere that empty lot, a lot with no structure or whatever, does not get charged a fee?
These guys, if they want to set it up this way, they can assess every lot. It has to go before the commission to be approved.
Sure. I just am not clear what is our policy, right? What's the county's policy right now?
There shouldn't be a solid waste assessment on an empty lot. And then just like this 14 says, shall pay a fee during the full fee during the year of construction. So, like my lot, I bought my lot a year ahead of schedule. I paid a property tax on it, no outside assessments on it. Within 6 months of building, I did get a first property tax bill on there, and there was an assessment.
Sure. Just, I'm just saying if we could clarify that.
Yep.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, if you guys are good on this, one other thing that we need to talk about in this public meeting, and this is just for you guys to listen to, voice your opinion on. When we were with Tri-County, our garbage went to Tri-County. They had a service that picked up 200 and I'm going to say 43 homes in Broadwater County. People think that if they go through Tri-County that they're not responsible for the assessment. which is wrong. The reason that is wrong is that garbage that was hauled back to Tri-County was still paid for by Broadwater County in the form of tipping fees and tonnage. Right now, I believe there's like 40-some that are still, we're battling with trying to get our assessment. Those bills have gone back out to the people that haven't paid by the treasurer's office, so hopefully we can get that money, which I want to say it was like 40, no, it wasn't that much money, but it was still just enough to keep your assessment at $265 and not lower it. A little over 11,000.
Yeah, so what is Tri-County's take on that, now that it's,
So what's happening now is we are no longer in business with Tri-County. Tri-County comes down here and runs their route. They bring their garbage to us and dumps it on our floor. It's Broadwater County garbage. But like I said, there's still a lot of people in that that are not paying, which spreads it out to everybody who is paying. There is some stuff in the works that I don't agree with us paying for it. That's a choice you made. You paid the $265. If you choose to use Tri-County, you're paying another $200 and some a year on top of it. That's on you. That's a service that you chose to have. But you're still responsible to us to pay that assessment.
yeah, because in theory, the only thing they're paying for is the pickup part of it.
They're paying for the convenience of
Yes.
not having to haul their
Yep.
trash.
Yep.
And we need to figure out how to not have to pay that. And I don't know legally where that lies.
And I would assume that Tri-County probably wouldn't make a new contract with those individuals and say, it's going to our landfill now, we're giving you the service of pickup and delivery and dumping. Here's your new fee.
Correct.
And they're not getting assessed on their tax bill,
Some of them are.
but they're not paying it. Well, isn't that dandy?
So, were we, if we're not picking up their garbage, though, is it less cost to us?
What's that?
We're not picking up their garbage, so we're just dumping it essentially.
We're not.
We're hauling it back to Lewis and Clark County.
But
So
we're
we do have a
saving-
cost
We're saving
involved.
the gas money of having to go to their place and pick it up like we
But-
are everybody else.
We don't. We never did pick it up.
No, we've never had a pickup service.
I see.
And we are paying the tipping fee on it.
Okay, I get that part. I wonder if they would expect a reduced cost since, a reduced assessment for those particular individuals. Maybe they'd be more warm to that kind of an idea if it's doable somehow.
I don't even want to entertain that.
Eventually, every
No, I-
property should be charged an assessment.
Yes.
If they're on the tax bills, they'll have an assessment.
Yeah, because then it'll turn into overutilized service where they're taking these canisters from Tri-County, filling them up, and then going to the dump, and then double dumping at the dump. So they're still utilizing all of their assessment, but they're utilizing the convenience of household trash in the garbage can, and then they could take another 200 pounds over here to Cedar Street weekly, and if it was discounted, I guarantee it would be overutilized.
It really would make a lot of problems in our office.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work just to get this cleaned up
Yep.
as much as it
Yeah, and
is.
I'm just kind of thinking maybe from their perspective, but
And like you said, though, it's a convenience. It's a
100%
convenience
it's
for
a
them.
convenience.
I live out in the county, and I take my garbage to the dump, and I have my sticker on my windshield. And
But you could throw it in your neighbor's
I could
garbage
go over
across the
to
street.
Tony's and throw it in their garbage and not pay anything. But I'm still getting assessed. I
Mm-hmm.
pay that assessment on my tax bill.
How many people are stuck in that category that aren't paying?
That aren't paying, it's like 40-some,
Yeah, like
42,
43, yeah.
43.
And they flat out said they're not gonna pay it, or they just haven't paid it?
They haven't paid it.
But how does that work then? Are they delinquent
delinquent on
that
their tax.
portion
They're
on their tax?
delinquent on that, and some of these people that are in this are in that IRP.
Oh, okay.
And I do believe, I know of 2 of them for sure, that when that IRP letter went out, Tri-County's cans come to their place. I thought that was very convenient. So what happens next year now? It'll be on their tax rolls. They'll pay their $265. What about the 700 or 740 or 370, whatever it is? What happens to that
Yep.
money? That money needs to come in.
Yep.
I agree, because it's their choice. They have options,
Mm-hmm.
and they chose to have their garbage picked up, and they still should pay their assessment.
Can you put a lien on their place?
I was gonna say that. How long until we can buy their property?
Mr. Chairman, can I answer that one? As you well know, Pat, that it was pretty tough in our office anyway. I don't know that I want to be the one to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
If the commissioners are willing to take that battle on, all 3 of them are here right now, that could be their choice. But I personally, I do not want to have to do that. I think we take our lumps and bumps and call it a day.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Rickmeyer, how's everyone doing? I have a question just regarding tipping fees that you were just discussing. Private pickup, they dump, when Tri-County picks up privately, they dump that garbage in our dump. So
Correct.
we're paying the tipping fee for that.
Yep.
Is it possible for them to not dump it in our dump and take it to their own dump?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, TJ.
I am working on that. I have got something in the works right now.
Okay,
But I'm going to tell you that probably won't happen until the fiscal year.
that's okay. I'm just was curious.
I agree with you, though.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yep.
Thank you.
I totally agree.
Totally agree.
Yeah, it just seems like that.
I
And
mean,
if you let other solid waste companies come into Broadwater County, if the Public Service Commission allows that, it's going to make a bigger mess in our office than this last one was.
Yep. Well, and even at this, I guarantee you the fee's going to go up. So then they're gonna come back to the county and say, well, because I don't utilize any of it, and they're charging me more for the dumping and the picking up and stuff, we want either that assessment gone, or we want a discount on it or something. Whereas garbage is a tough business.
Park County says if you live in the county and have a habitable dwelling, you pay the assessment no matter if you use it or not. If you choose to have an outside company pick it up, that's on you.
Yep.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's what I was just going to say, was you pay, in Lewis and Clark, you paid the
You pay.
assessment. Your
Yep.
choice to have the convenience of a private pickup, but everybody pays the assessment. You never know. You're going to use the dump for something, you know.
yeah.
It's there. It's part of it. It's part of living there. But it would be interesting to see the assessment. It might not be huge, the change in the number, if everybody wasn't carrying the burden of the private pickup cost of tipping fees as well. But thank you.
Well, with that being said, though, when we went to Lewis and Clark County versus Tri-County, we saved a pile of money,
Yep.
which will not be passed on right now, but down the road it's going to be passed back onto the constituents of the county.
I have a question. If Tri-County were to pick up somebody's waste and then bring it to our dump, why don't we charge them the tipping fee?
Because it's our garbage.
But
But
they're
we
getting
don't,
paid
we don't
for
know
it.
we don't know if it's our garbage or not. Do we?
Not for certain, no. But what we are doing is we are running them across our scale, so we do know what they're,
We
they're
know, yeah, so
coming
we
in
should,
with.
so we should create a disincentive for Tri-County by charging them the tipping fee regardless of where the garbage came from.
It'd basically be a user fee for our facility.
Correct. Why wouldn't we do that?
Yep, and they're gonna claw it back through a charge anyway,
Sure they
so.
will.
Vice versa, whether they haul it themselves into Tri-County to the landfill, or every time the truck comes across the scale up there, they're charged that, they're gonna,
I
What
think that,
what I
ahead.
suggest is you call it a convenience fee for Tri-County, that they don't have to haul their waste all the way back to East Helena. They come to our dump, it's a convenience fee to them, and we charge them.
I'm definitely not opposed to that.
Because then we're taking it to Lewis and Clark.
That is something that's gonna have to go in front of the commission to be approved on, because it'll be monetarily. And I really don't have a problem with it.
Yep.
If it's coming up to our facility, it's, in the month, it's probably an extra load a month, I would say, that they bring in. But that's still a load that we're not picking up down here
yep.
at our outreach sites or whatever, but most of the stuff that you're seeing is in your subdivisions or on the backside of the lake. There's several on the backside of the lake. Our neighborhood, there's quite a few in our neighborhood.
Yep.
But I don't know how that has to go through the commission as far as we're gonna have public meetings and have a convenience fee for people who want to dump their garbage, I guess is probably how it'd go. I'm good with that. What do you guys think's a fair price? Just spitball so you guys can discuss it.
I've got a couple of proposals right here that we can base that off of.
Is that the new one?
Yep. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, how would that work then? Honestly, I think, as a board member, I really like that idea. I feel like that's the way it should have been set up from the get-go. They're getting paid for collecting garbage. They should have to pay a
Yep.
tipping fee. But how do we do that? Does the board come up with, at this meeting, come up with a, no, okay, just at a future date, come up with that recommendation and an amount?
It would have to go on your agendas for a discussion decision with a recommendation back to the commission. My guess with this being having to do with money, it's going to have a public meeting twice, and then it'll have to go in front through legal,
Yep.
and then back to you guys, and then recommendation back to the commission to act on it twice, 3 times, sold, and then it could probably be enacted. Best case scenario, I would say fiscal year, possibly.
It's doable.
Which shouldn't,
Yeah, it's definitely doable.
it sh-
Is it legal? That's the one thing that we have to find out.
well, it's a service that the county ain't providing,
Correct?
but the county's paying for it. So the county's got to be compensated for it. So legally, I'm not a lawyer, but if the county's not being compensated for it, then it's funded by the rest of the taxpayers. And we can't have,
If it's not 100% funded, you mean?
what's that?
If it's not 100% funded by the constituents that are using their service. Because if they are using their service, they are paying that assessment.
Yes, but we incur a fee from that.
We do.
Yep.
And that was one of the things when I first came here, I'm like, why are we getting a bill for this? And at that time, I think it was Darrell said no. Commissioner Fulford at that time said, no, we're not paying that. Well, we're getting the bills, and nowhere did it say in the Tri-County contract that was going to happen. So we just kind of stayed with it, not really knowing how it was going to shake out. But after talking with these guys, nobody agrees that we should be paying that.
Yep. Yep.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think one of the fundamental problems here is you have no idea where that waste is coming from. They
Right.
could bring all their waste to us
Yes.
and have us then pay for it and take it to Lewis and Clark.
Yep.
And they could stop the operation of their own landfill. I mean, theoretically, they could do that.
Yep.
And if there's no accountability on where the waste is coming from, I mean, they could claim that people just started throwing away a lot of stuff.
I said that in the past because they come in from back there
Yeah.
on the, what is it called, Canyon Ferry Crossing. So part of that's not in Broadwater County. They
Yep.
could start picking up, come down through here, pick up everything, take it on up to the transfer station. It's garbage that's not in their landfill, like you said.
Yes, and then when they compete with the county, they will say, well, your costs are way up because you're paying for all this unaccounted for waste and tipping fees. Our tipping fees go up. They come in with a proposal saying that they can do it cheaper. I mean, you know, there's no accountability in this thing.
No.
So how would you do that? How can you,
You create disincentive. What you do is you say, if you bring waste to us, you will pay our tipping fee. And if you can't pass it on to your customers who are already paying for the service,
You won't bring it
it's a
in.
disincentive for them. They won't be able to
because
sell
there's
their
no way to
service.
tell if that truck was half full when it was
No.
filling a.
Yep.
So if you charge them $54 a ton, it covers our $24 a ton, pays our driver, pays for the depreciation, wear and tear on the truck. That's a pretty simple number right there.
What
Yep.
did they used to charge us a ton to tip it over there?
Who, Tri-County?
Yeah.
It was 29. Their proposal came in at 30.74. And what we're under right now is $24 for household, 21 for construction and demolition. And they just took, Lewis and Clark County just took in Augusta and Lincoln back in from Republic. And with them taking Broadwater County in, with that much more volume coming in, I can see our assessment or our tipping fees going down. I can't guarantee it, but it makes more sense. The more you bring in,
Yep.
the more you can spread it out to everybody and lower your people in Lewis and Clark County's
It's a
assessment.
fixed cost, variable cost
Yeah.
equation. And their variable cost then is spread further.
Mhm.
Well, and we have to take that into consideration too, because they dump it on the floor, you have to have an employee go out there, you have to have it's gotta go into the trailer, then you gotta have an employee drive the truck, and then you gotta have diesel, and, yep,
And you gotta sort it on the floor. If there's metal in there, you gotta sort it on the floor.
yep,
And when say it's 20 below right now, you're in that building at 20 below, it's a heck of a lot colder than 20
Yep.
below. And, yeah, I really think that this is something to look into. We'll get it into, I believe our deputy county attorney is out all week. I don't think I would even bring it to her till she came back, probably next week, to discuss. Do you guys have something else? Nothing else?
I would open a discussion on it on a internal and board-wise. That's what I would think.
I don't have anything else for you guys right now.
Okay, next meeting is March 11th at 6 PM.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am?
They were talking earlier about the pilot program with the Department of Revenue and our county and Liberty County. And that, excuse me, that's not just for TJ's road crew going around seeing things. There'll be an article in this Friday's paper about how you can tell on your neighbors.
Rat on your neighbors.
So if you're driving around and you see a house and it wasn't there last week or whatever, it will be and it's very simple. I think we've all tried it out, or at least looked at it. You put in the address, whatever information you have, you put in your name, email, and a phone number, but DOR is not going to call you. And I'll say this at a public meeting because I said it. When it says for your phone number, you can put in 11111. But it's another service for us, for DOR, to try to get houses, or you see a remodel job.
Yep.
So it's trying to make it more fair for all of us. So that will be open to the public.
I might mention, it runs on the transaction portal, if you're familiar with that, Department of Revenue. You can access it on your phone, you can access it on the web. Transaction portal.
Are you talking about the reporting tool?
Yeah.
There's a special link for it, and I don't think you can access it in general yet because they've only shared it with us and Liberty County. So the link will be in the paper on Friday, but I'm also going to put it on the website so people can find it there.
I apologize.
It's okay. I know what you're saying. They just haven't made it live for everyone.
It's built in TAP, but it's a test model.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We're the pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it works, it'll be on TAP. Right?
Yep.
Yep.
Soon.
I have 3 properties I need to put on it right now.
Do it.
I had something more important to deal with this week with cold weather, so I did not do it. But I think it's going to be a good working relationship with Department of Revenue. It'll take a little bit of heat off of them. It's going to put a little bit more work on our plate, but really not that much because we're driving around everywhere. If you notice it, hey, mark down the coordinates. Pretty simple.
Well, what I was told was, well, we got them all. And I said, well, how did that happen?
You're never going to get them all, kid.
Well, we superimposed cadastral over an old one, and
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
I wish I could do business like that.
Not that I want to defend the government, but the DOR is massively short-staffed, and they have had a lot of cuts, and they're massively short-staffed.
Yep.
So they know, and they admit freely, they're like, we need double the people that we have to capture everything. It's horrible, and we discussed this in the office a lot this week. There's like a cringe factor to like, I'm gonna tell on my neighbor. But the fact of the matter is we went for several years, as a lot of people locally know, with a lot of missed properties, which does affect taxes for everybody. So again, like the solid waste assessments, it lightens the load for all when everybody's paying their share.
Well, and what I discussed with them, I said, okay, we know I have an assessment on my house. There is one there. Don't worry about it. You can see it from the highway. Go drive down that other road where there's a structure there that doesn't have an assessment on it. So in turn, through all that stuff, the other taxpayers are paying the taxes on those pieces of property.
And also, it does take them a year. So if you're building your house, it's not going to show up on the tax roll until the following year.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it does take some time. And they will, if you have a vindictive neighbor that's going to report you 6 times because they don't like you for some reason, oh, hey, they just remodeled their woodshed or something, they are going to flag that. They're going to note that. They're not going to, they're going to say, okay, this has been done several times. So.
Yep.
I can. Before we close tonight, you guys have this proposed new sticker for this coming year. One thing I noticed is the one that we currently have, the blue, is very hard to see. It is like if the sun's hitting it, you cannot see it. With this being more of a fluorescent color, I'm hoping it'll pop a little bit. But that leads me into something I should have talked about in the public comment time. But this is just, there'll be no comment. It'll just be our site attendants in the outreach sites are experiencing health issues. I did put some signs up around the county that says that these sites could be temporarily closed without notice. It is on our website. I do have big yellow signs on them, 30 by 30, that say, or on two of them right now, that says, closed due to staffing shortage. I just want you guys to be aware that we're getting ourselves into a corner right now with some site attendants being a little bit older. Most of the people we get are retired. We had our posting for 2 months, Misty, at least. We got one applicant.
Yep.
We are losing a guy at the transfer station for the weekend. After this weekend, he is done. I have lost my Toston Radersburg site attendant for an extended period of time, and I can't tell you what that is because I don't even know yet. So we need to take a hard look at possibility of consolidating Toston and Radersburg. I don't want to do anything with Cedar Street. I think we have burned a lot of bridges there. We have made a lot of accommodations doing that. Our outreach sites, especially during the winter months, we're not seeing it pay to be open 4 days a week. Dry Gulch is open 2 days a week. We are getting a half a can in a weekend, which tells me they're utilizing Cedar Street or the transfer station. So with that being said, that needs to be something that you guys need to think about moving forward as far as what you would recommend. I have ideas, but I'm not willing to share them right now. One of our biggest problems that we have is our outreach sites, the days that are open, I can't move guys around because they're the same days, which is an easy fix. But then again, you are changing what people are accustomed to. People do not like change. They like how it works. But that is something that we have to look at in the near future.
Yep.
Unless... So, Lewis and Clark County just have the same issue up in Augusta. 75 miles from Lewis and Clark County shop to Augusta. Lewis and Clark County is not willing to send a person up there to staff it. So this is where you guys come in. You guys volunteer to staff these sites.
He did not look at me because it was my idea.
We volunteer to staff these sites. You know, there's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I think it'd be better if the commissioners did, just so they get an in-depth view of the problems that are arising.
I volunteered to go and stuff, so I'll step aside.
You guys just needed to be aware of what's going to come before you real quick.
Did not really think you were going to say.
I'm done.
I think we can close them.
Space heaters and work car hard.
Moon boots.
I saw some of those today.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
How much do those guys get paid to staff those things?
Yeah, they work full-time.
Staff the outreach sites, $13.75.
Think you could get them if you doubled that?
I don't have it in my budget right now. Well, I can't pay a site attendant that works part-time more than I pay anybody else.
That's very true. That would be a big problem.
I would have mutiny.
Yep.
Well, I'm just wondering if
But
it's a
don't-
money issue.
What's that?
I'm just wondering if
It
it's
is-
a money issue. I mean,
well, it is a money
really
A lot of it is.
Suck your job,
He-
tell you the truth. I mean,
Last year, for the first time, we broke down the budget by site. So we're tracking what our expenses are by site. So this year's budget process coming up, if you want to change the way, you want to recommend a change in the operations or personnel costs or whatever, we'll be able to calculate all that by site.
I really think that Toston and Radersburg could be combined and go to 3 days. And I think that could be year-round. Dry Gulch, I probably wouldn't do anything there. Winston, I would probably cut a couple of days somewhere,
Yeah.
or at least a day.
How many days is it open now?
It's open Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. That was part of the concessions that were made when we did away with the walking camps, as we give them more hours. And honestly, the people have been really good about not throwing any garbage down, because there was cameras there. There's cameras at Cedar Street now. There's cameras at the transfer station. There's not cameras at the other outreach sites because we don't have any power. And with it being as cold as it is, solar doesn't work.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
Yep.
Unless Spire Electric wanted to wire all this stuff in for free. I mean,
Hey, I did.
test
well,
subject.
I did have some discussions with one of the site attendants on that. To an extent. All right. I'm going to call it meeting adjourned.